Beloved soul, you are standing on holy ground right now. Something in the unseen has shifted, and heaven has whispered your name into this moment with a tenderness that bends time itself. You didn't arrive here by scrolling. You were carried here, drawn by a pull you couldn't explain, guided by a wisdom older than the world, invited into a prophetic awakening that has been stirring beneath the surface of your days. That fire in your spirit, the quiet trembling in your chest, the sense that November 25 is marked for you in a way no one else has spoken of yet. That is not imagination. That is destiny alignment awakening inside you, calling you into a new dimension of personal transformation and spiritual awakening. Before one of your days unfolded, God wrote this one into the script of your divine purpose. Psalm 139:16 declared it long before you had language for it. And now heaven leans close because this year, on that day, something sacred converges. A breakthrough season you were crafted for. A shift meant to recalibrate your wealth mindset, your emotional healing, your spiritual authority. You have felt the isolation, the sudden desire to stay home, to withdraw from noise, to be alone in a quiet atmosphere. It wasn't loneliness, it was preparation. It was the Spirit gathering you into a place where distractions cannot cloud the message meant only for you. You were not avoiding the world. Heaven was sheltering you for revelation. Chosen one, breathe. Let the weight of this moment rest in your heart. You have walked through storms that should have crushed you, yet here you stand with a resilience that angels testify about. God has been rearranging the hidden architecture of your life, removing what whispered doubt, silencing what stole your focus, and guiding you toward the stillness where destiny speaks. November 25 isn't a date on a calendar. For someone listening, it is a divine appointment written into eternity, a day heaven has reserved for separation, elevation, and awakening. A day where silence becomes instruction and solitude becomes empowerment. If lately you've felt like old desires are fading, familiar places feel distant, or your spirit is craving quiet more than conversation, you're not broken. You are being sanctified. Isolation is not punishment for the chosen ones. It is the chamber where revelation forms. God hides those he is about to elevate, because the next layer of abundance cannot be carried with old distractions. This is why the call to stay home on that day has been echoing in your spirit. The shift is delicate, the assignment is holy, and the anointing being poured into your life requires focused stillness. There is a reason even your sleep has changed, a reason your intuition has tightened, a reason your discernment has sharpened. Divine purpose is pressing into your atmosphere. Heaven is preparing to release strategies that will anchor your financial stability, ignite your inner elevation, and unlock a new flow of abundance in ways you could never manufacture on your own. And, beloved, there will be a moment in this message later, as we journey deeper, when the revelation will touch the exact place in your spirit that has been waiting for confirmation. If this word is awakening something in you, pause for a heartbeat. Let it settle. And before we continue, if you feel the Spirit stirring you already, subscribe so you don't miss what heaven releases next, because what is coming in this message carries weight for the rest of your year. Beloved soul, listen closely as the atmosphere around your spirit begins to shift in ways you have not yet found words for. What has been stirring inside you these past weeks is not confusion, and it is not fatigue. It is the slow, deliberate rising of a divine signal, calling you into the quiet sanctuary where God refines those he has chosen for uncommon elevation. You have felt the strange pull to withdraw, to step back from the noise, to stay home even when you couldn't explain why. That urge has pressed against your heart like a soft whisper, guiding you toward the hidden chambers where heaven speaks with clarity. And now, As November 25 approaches, this internal summons intensifies, not to isolate you, but to prepare you, to draw you into a moment where destiny alignment becomes undeniable. There is a reason your spirit has felt heavier than usual. Not a sorrowful heaviness, but a deep, holy gravity, as if unseen hands are turning the pages of your life toward a chapter you have not yet lived. The loneliness you thought was a burden has become a cocoon. The silence you once feared is now shaping you into the kind of vessel that can hold revelation without breaking. You have been stretched in emotional healing, tested in patience, stripped of false comfort, and confronted with truths you could no longer outrun. These are not random experiences. They are signs that heaven has been constructing the foundation for your breakthrough season. For the chosen ones, God often orchestrates seasons where the world seems to grow dim, so the inner light can grow fierce. Your discernment has sharpened, your intuition has awakened, your spirit has begun catching signals that bypass logic. You have sensed shifts in the atmosphere long before they manifested around you. This is because you are stepping into a level of spiritual awakening that requires undivided attention. November 25 carries a weight that others cannot feel, because the instructions tied to that day are not meant for them. They are meant for you. Hear this, beloved. When God prepares you for abundance, He separates you from any frequency that contradicts your assignment. When He prepares you for personal transformation, He removes the voices that water down your conviction. When He prepares you for financial stability rooted in divine wisdom, He clears the space where old fears once lived. These subtle movements have been happening within you, quietly, persistently, like a river carving a new path through stone. You did not ask for this unfolding, but your spirit recognized it before your mind did. Some of you have noticed that conversations you once enjoyed now feel shallow. Invitations that once thrilled you now feel draining. People who once occupied your time no longer carry the same resonance. This shift is not emotional instability. It is divine refinement. It is heaven peeling away anything that would interfere with revelation. And as you step closer to November 25, the call to remain home becomes stronger, because heaven has appointed that day for a private exchange, an impartation that cannot be diluted by distraction. Perhaps you have noticed the way your dreams have changed. Nights that once carried randomness have grown vivid, symbolic, heavy with meaning. You may have woken with a sense that something was being spoken to you in the unseen. You may have walked through visions that left imprints on your spirit long after waking. These are not mere dreams. They are blueprints. They are glimpses of the path your destiny is tracing. They are the Spirit preparing your heart for instructions that will come in the stillness of that sacred day. You may even feel an unusual sensitivity to spiritual signs, the numbers that repeat before your eyes, the sudden thoughts that carry unusual clarity, the unexpected stillness that falls upon you at random hours. These are all signals. They are heaven's way of aligning your awareness with the movement of your calling. And right here, in this very moment, if you feel a surge rising within you, let your heart answer it, for that surge is the echo of purpose being awakened. Beloved, if your spirit is resonating with these words, let it be known in the quiet space within you. And as your heart affirms this unfolding, speak your readiness in the comments with a declaration that carries fire. Say, "I rise now," and let the heavens witness your agreement. You have been walking through a season where God has been dismantling everything built on fear, insecurity, or old versions of yourself. The stripping has felt painful, but it has not been punishment. It has been preparation. Just as gold must be purified, just as seeds must break to grow, so must the chosen ones be set apart before they are raised. And though the world may misunderstand your silence, heaven celebrates it. Silence is where instructions settle. Silence is where divine purpose crystallizes into clarity. And soon, very soon, you will understand why the Spirit would not let you move the way you used to, speak the way you used to, or think the way you used to. You are not being held back. You are being held steady. You are being kept in position for a release that requires timing only heaven could design. Your elevation is not delayed. It is being architected with precision. As November 25 nears, heaven is aligning circumstances around you, preparing to reveal what your spirit has sensed for months. The unfolding will not be loud. It will be intimate. It will be quiet. It will bypass the noise of the world and come directly to the sanctuary of your heart. That is why you must remain home, because the instruction, the shift, the awakening, these are not meant to be observed publicly. They are meant to be birthed privately. Let your heart stay alert. Let your soul remain open, and let your faith rise in expectation, because this journey into silence is only the beginning of your revelation. Beloved soul, there is a quiet current moving beneath your days right now. A current that doesn't roar or announce itself with thunder, yet it reshapes the entire landscape of your spirit. You've begun to notice that your thoughts have shifted into deeper waters, that your inner world has grown more alert to subtleties you once overlooked. These aren't random changes. They are signals that heaven is adjusting your inner compass, guiding you into a realm where clarity becomes sharper than instinct, and instinct becomes more truthful than eyesight. The closer you move toward the sacred threshold of November 25, the more your spirit begins to recognize that this moment has been written into your journey with divine precision. There is an unfolding happening inside you that does not follow familiar patterns. Old fears no longer grip you the way they once did. Old doubts no longer carry the same weight. Even your inner conversations feel different, more refined, more discerning, shaped by a wisdom you did not consciously seek, but suddenly find yourself carrying. This is the refinement that comes before revelation. God is not only preparing your steps, He is preparing your perception, because what He is about to speak requires eyes that can see beyond surface, and ears that can recognize truth even when it comes wrapped in silence. You may have noticed that your appetite for noise has diminished. Music you once played endlessly now feels intrusive. Voices that once entertained you now feel hollow. Environments that used to comfort you now feel cluttered. This is not moodiness. This is spiritual alignment. When heaven prepares to deliver instruction, the soul instinctively seeks stillness. It withdraws from unnecessary vibrations. It steps away from anything that blurs its sensitivity. The isolation you're experiencing is not a cage. It is a sanctuary being carved around you by divine hands. And as this sanctuary forms, something new awakens within you. A courage you didn't know you had. A sense of purpose that rises like dawn. A certainty that whispers through your bones, telling you that you were meant for more than the cycles you've survived. This courage doesn't roar. It breathes. It emerges in the quiet realization that you are no longer the same person who walked through previous storms. Something in you has shifted, matured, expanded. You have outgrown the limits that once held you captive. This is why God is calling you into solitude on that sacred day, because what is being birthed in you must not be interrupted by external noise. The revelation that awaits you requires full attention, not partial, not divided, not shared with the world around you. When heaven chooses to pour into the chosen ones, it does so in environments where distractions cannot compete. That is why November 25 is sealed as a private encounter, a moment where divine purpose touches the deepest parts of your being and whispers strategies that will shape the next chapters of your life. Some of you have felt an unusual anticipation, almost like the air has thickened around your spirit. You feel it most at night, when the world grows quiet and your heart beats a little louder. You can sense that something is approaching, not with fear, but with reverence. This is spiritual sensitivity awakening. It is the kind of awareness that only the chosen ones experience before a divine shift. Heaven often announces its movements not through spectacle, but through subtle inner trembling. And your spirit has been trembling for days now, signaling that the veil is thinning around you. There are things you've been wrestling with in private, questions that have lingered without answer, wounds that have healed slowly, dreams that have waited for their appointed hour. These wrestlings have not been signs of weakness. They have been the stretching that precedes expansion. They have been the pruning that prepares the branch for new fruit. They have been the divine tension that strengthens your capacity to hold abundance without losing yourself to it. God does not give overflow to a heart that cannot carry it. He prepares the heart first, and that preparation often feels like pressure, silence, withdrawal, reflection. But beloved, feel this truth settling over you now. The season of inward pressure is reaching its turning point. The shift that has been forming quietly is about to reveal its first light. And heaven has chosen November 25 as a day of activation, a day where the unseen structure of your destiny becomes clear, a day where instructions meet readiness, and readiness meets revelation. You may even find yourself waking with clearer thoughts than usual, as if your mind is recalibrating while you sleep. You may sense new ideas appearing without effort, or sudden insight illuminating places in your life that once felt confusing. These flashes of clarity are not coincidences, they are previews. Heaven is opening windows before it opens doors. The clarity you are receiving now is the whisper before the trumpet, the foreshadowing before the unveiling. And there is more, much more stirring beneath the surface. Heaven is weaving alignment into spaces you haven't even stepped into yet, conversations you haven't had, opportunities you haven't seen, breakthroughs you haven't imagined. You are being prepared not only to receive, but to recognize what is sent to you. So many blessings go unnoticed because the heart is not trained to identify them, but your heart is being trained. Your spirit is being sharpened. Your eyes are being opened. Even now, the architecture of your elevation is being assembled quietly, piece by piece, in ways the world cannot observe. Angels are positioned, timelines are adjusting, paths are rerouted, and all of it converges at a moment designed specifically for your awakening. That is why heaven insists that you remain still, that you remain home, that you remain separate on that day, because what is meant for you cannot be shared with individuals who are not prepared to understand it. Private revelation becomes diluted when exposed to minds that cannot carry its weight. So let your soul breathe in this truth. You are being set apart for sacred instruction. You are being prepared for a layer of abundance that comes not only in material blessing, but in wisdom, insight, stability, inner restoration. This is the kind of abundance that changes not only your circumstances, but your identity. The kind that aligns your life with your divine purpose in ways that shape your future for years to come. And if your spirit is absorbing this with a sense of holy recognition, let heaven witness your agreement. Speak your fire into the comments with a declaration that cannot be shaken. Say, "I choose destiny," and let your voice echo where the unseen listens. Beloved soul, something deeper is unfolding beneath the surface of your awareness, something that touches places inside you that language has never fully reached. You may not see the fullness of it yet, but your spirit has already begun responding to movements that originate far beyond the visible world. There are moments lately when your heart seems to pause between beats, as if listening for guidance you haven't consciously asked for. These pauses are not random. They are invitations. They are the soft signals heaven sends before, releasing greater instruction. There is a growing sensitivity in you that wasn't there before. You've begun to notice details that once slipped past your perception. A shift in someone's tone, a change in the atmosphere of a room, a sudden wave of intuition that rises without warning. These are not coincidences. They are signs that your spiritual senses are waking up. God is heightening your discernment so you can recognize the direction He is steering you toward, especially as November 25 draws near. Sensitivity is not weakness. Sensitivity is a sign of readiness, the kind heaven honors when preparing a chosen one for a moment that carries the weight of transformation. And as this sensitivity unfolds, your inner world grows quieter, but not empty. It grows focused. You have found yourself pulling away from conversations that used to excite you, not because you've lost interest in life, but because you've outgrown the noise that once defined your days. Your spirit is being tuned like an instrument, calibrated to hear the voice of purpose with clarity. The old distractions cannot follow you into the next phase, because the next phase requires a level of awareness that can only be built in quiet places. You may also feel a growing distance between who you were and who you are becoming. Thoughts that once comforted you no longer hold the same power. Habits that once anchored you now feel misaligned with your new direction. Even the way you speak to yourself has shifted. This inner evolution is not something you forced. It is something heaven initiated. Transformation rarely begins with applause. It begins with subtle recalibrations, sacred adjustments that shape you from within long before they become visible externally. Beloved, God is preparing you for instruction that will touch not just your spirit, but your patterns, your decisions, your posture toward your destiny. What you will receive on that sacred day will not be abstract inspiration. It will be direction. It will be strategy. It will be clarity wrapped in silence. And because these revelations hold the power to redirect your future, heaven is ensuring that nothing interferes with the download meant for you alone. That is why you feel the separation. That is why you feel the quiet. That is why you feel the urging to remain home. This urging is not fear, it is protection. It is the Spirit shielding the environment around you so that nothing interrupts what God is preparing to unveil. When heaven orchestrates sacred encounters, it places a hedge around the chosen ones, not to confine them, but to ensure that revelation reaches them without contamination. And the hedge around you has been strengthening. You can feel it in the way certain interactions no longer reach you the same way. You can sense it in the way your peace has become more guarded. You can recognize it in the way your inner stability has been growing, even on days when clarity felt distant. You have entered a season where the unseen realm is more active in your life than the visible. Heaven is rearranging alignments, adjusting connections, orchestrating timing with precision that only God can execute. Divine purpose is not something you stumble into. It is something heaven prepares you for through layers of encounters, impressions, and spiritual nudges. And every nudge you've felt lately has been leading you toward the moment where revelation will meet obedience, where clarity will meet readiness, where destiny will meet surrender. There are also new desires rising within you, desires that do not come from your old identity, a deeper longing for wisdom, a stronger hunger for purpose, a quiet but persistent yearning for elevation that goes beyond material success. These desires are not accidents. They are seeds heaven planted within you during your quiet seasons, seeds that are now beginning to awaken because the time of harvest is drawing near. And harvest does not come to a heart that remains unchanged. Harvest comes to a heart that has been tilled, softened, and prepared. This preparation is why God has been nudging you away from influences that once shaped you. It is why he has been highlighting patterns that no longer belong in your life. It is why certain connections have faded gently, without conflict, as if heaven itself dimmed the light on relationships that have completed their assignment. These shifts are not losses, they are transitions. They are heaven's way of ensuring that only the voices aligned with your destiny remain close as your next chapter begins to form. And beloved, even now as you listen, heaven is weaving new pathways beneath your feet. Not all of them will be visible at first. Some will appear as opportunities that seem small, but carry great significance. Others will appear as sudden moments of inner clarity that break through confusion like sunrise breaking through mist. And each one will guide you closer to the revelation assigned to that sacred day. If you feel your spirit rising in agreement with this truth, affirm it with your presence. Speak your light into the comments with a declaration that carries strength and certainty. Say Amen, not as a word, but as a witness. Beloved soul, there is a stirring inside you that feels unlike anything you have carried before. A quiet but undeniable shift that moves through your inner world like a hidden tide rearranging the shores of your awareness. You may not have spoken it aloud, but you have felt moments lately where your spirit seems to lean forward as if anticipating something approaching from the unseen. These moments arrive without warning, catching you between breaths, and for a heartbeat, you sense a presence guiding your thoughts into deeper clarity. That sensation is not imagination. It is the echo of heaven drawing you toward the place where revelation will settle upon you with weight and purpose. There is a new rhythm forming within you, a rhythm not shaped by your circumstances, but by the gentle instruction of the Spirit. You have begun noticing that your inner pace has shifted. You no longer rush through moments the way you once did. You pause, you reflect, you allow your spirit to interpret what your mind cannot yet articulate. This inner slowing is divine strategy, preparing your heart to absorb the depth of what is coming. Heaven rarely speaks into hurried souls. It speaks into souls that have learned to be still, to listen, to recognize the language of subtlety. And your spirit has been learning this language more fluently with each passing day. You may have found yourself feeling more protective of your energy. Conversations that once felt harmless now drain you faster than before. Environments you used to tolerate now feel misaligned with your spirit. Even the way you navigate conflict has changed. Instead of reacting, you observe. Instead of absorbing chaos, you step back. Instead of explaining yourself, you preserve your peace. This is not withdrawal. This is mastery. God is teaching you how to steward your presence with wisdom, because the revelation awaiting you on November 25 requires a soul that can distinguish between what deserves attention and what deserves release. There is also a growing clarity in your perception of patterns. You have started seeing cycles in your life that you once overlooked. Cycles in relationships, in emotions, in decisions, in the way certain situations repeat themselves until the lesson becomes unmistakable. This clarity is not accidental. It is preparation. Heaven is illuminating the patterns so that when divine instruction arrives, it does not fall on unprepared ground. The chosen ones are taught to recognize the roots beneath the visible fruit, and your spirit is beginning to trace those roots with precision you did not have before. Beloved, if you have felt a subtle pressure around your thoughts, almost like a gentle tightening that pulls your focus inward, this is the Spirit urging you to protect the mental space where revelation will descend. Distraction is the enemy of clarity. Chaos is the enemy of discernment. And heaven has been clearing the internal pathways where truth will soon be written. That's why ideas you once entertained now feel empty. That's why certain plans you once pursued now feel misaligned. Heaven is removing the pieces that no longer fit your divine blueprint. And in this quiet reconstruction, you may have noticed a strange gentleness settling over your emotions. Not a softness that leaves you exposed, but a calm strength that anchors you in moments where you used to feel unsteady. Your reactions have changed, your expectations have matured, your heart has grown wiser. Even in conflict, you sense a stillness rising within you, a stillness that is not born of passivity but of discernment. This stillness is the evidence that heaven is drawing near. It is the atmosphere where divine instruction thrives. As you move closer to the sacred day heaven has appointed, your inner world will continue shifting in ways that prepare you for a deeper encounter. You may feel waves of insight rising suddenly, illuminating corners of your understanding that once felt dim. You may sense a new kind of introspection, guiding your thoughts into places you avoided before. You may even feel moments where your spirit becomes unusually alert, as if standing at the threshold of revelation. All of this is by design. Heaven is not only preparing your surroundings, it is preparing your capacity. The revelation scheduled for your spirit requires emotional clarity, mental stillness, spiritual sensitivity, and a heart ready to receive without resistance. Beloved, if this unfolding resonates with what you've been carrying, let your agreement rise with intention. Speak into the unseen with a declaration that marks your readiness. Write, "I claim my breakthrough" in the comments, and let your spirit stand tall in the presence of heaven's alignment. And now, as you breathe into this moment, let your heart remain open. What is coming next carries weight and purpose. What is being prepared for you is not ordinary. It is the continuation of a divine conversation heaven began long before you realized you were listening. Beloved soul, there is a movement rising within you that feels unlike anything you have stepped into before. A quiet but unmistakable awakening that presses gently against the edges of your spirit. It comes not as noise, but as a steady inner pull, guiding you toward a depth you once sensed but never fully accessed. This pull does not demand your attention, it invites it. And as you lean into it, your awareness begins to sharpen in ways that feel almost supernatural, as if your inner world is expanding to hold truths you never knew you were ready for. You may have noticed lately that your thoughts seem to linger on deeper questions, not out of confusion, but out of recognition. Recognition of the fact that something inside you is shifting toward greater clarity. Recognition of the truth that there are layers of your identity awakening beneath the surface. Recognition that heaven has begun preparing you for a message that requires a stillness only the chosen ones can carry. These inner movements are not random. They are the signs of a spirit being positioned for revelation. And as this positioning unfolds, your heart has begun shedding the weight of expectations you once shouldered without question. You no longer feel compelled to explain yourself to people who cannot discern the depth of your calling. You no longer feel the pressure to fit into spaces that do not honor your spirit. You no longer feel bound to cycles that repeat without purpose. This release is not rebellion. It is refinement. Heaven is teaching you to differentiate between what strengthens your destiny and what distracts it. You have also begun to recognize the shifts in your emotional landscape. Moments that once triggered anxiety now meet a steadier version of you. Situations that once unsettled your heart now find you anchored in a deeper trust. Even your silence has gained new meaning. It is no longer the silence of avoidance. It is the silence of alignment, the quiet where understanding grows roots. And in this silence, your spirit has begun absorbing truths that prepare you for what is coming. Beloved, you are entering a phase where the wisdom of the unseen will speak louder than the opinions of the world. You will find yourself guided by impressions that rise unannounced, carrying clarity that surpasses logic. You will feel nudges in directions you never considered, not because of fear, but because of divine prompting. Heaven is training your instincts to act as signals, leading you toward the place where your purpose unfolds with precision. As you move deeper into this awakening, the space around you will begin to feel different. Rooms you enter may feel heavier or lighter depending on their alignment with your calling. People you encounter will stir either peace or unease in your spirit. Conversations will reveal more than their words. You are not imagining this heightened perception. You are being upgraded in discernment, prepared to interpret the spiritual landscape with accuracy and depth. There will also be moments where you feel an unusual spaciousness within your soul, as if new room has been carved out for something you cannot yet name. This spaciousness is preparation. Heaven is clearing emotional clutter, old beliefs, and outdated identities to make room for revelation. What once consumed your energy now falls away without resistance. What once held you back now loosens its grip. This is the spiritual equivalent of a field being cleared for planting. Something is about to be sown into you that requires open ground. And if lately you've found yourself pulled toward moments of solitude, not out of loneliness but out of a quiet yearning, know that this calling is sacred. Your solitude is not empty. It is filled with whispers that shape your next season. It is filled with guidance waiting for the right moment to emerge. It is filled with the presence that prepares you for the significance of November 25. Heaven hides its deepest messages in moments of stillness, and you are being positioned to hear them clearly. Beloved soul, if your heart feels the truth resonating through these words, let your spirit answer with certainty. Leave your affirmation in the comments with a declaration that carries weight and intention. Say, "I rise now," and let the unseen realm recognize your readiness for what heaven is about to unfold. Beloved soul, there is a quiet illumination unfolding within you, a kind of inner widening that feels as though your spirit is learning how to breathe in a new dimension. It does not arrive with force. It moves like a soft radiance, spreading through places in your awareness that once held tension. This gentle expansion is heaven preparing your heart to receive truths that cannot be carried by the mind alone. It is the beginning of a deeper sensitivity, one that allows you to perceive not only what is happening around you, but what is awakening inside you. You may have sensed recently that your inner atmosphere has shifted in a way you cannot quite explain. Thoughts that used to collide now flow with greater ease. Emotions that once tangled into confusion now untangle themselves before you even attempt to understand them. It is as if something within you has begun to sort your inner world with wisdom you never consciously learned. This is not coincidence. This is the quiet work of the Spirit, arranging the landscape of your soul so that the guidance meant for you will land without distortion. And as this arranging deepens, you might feel moments where your spirit seems to observe your life from a higher vantage point. Noticing connections you once overlooked, you begin to understand why certain paths closed and why certain people drifted. You start to see the threads behind decisions that once puzzled you. This higher sight is not imagination, it is preparation. Heaven often elevates perception before it elevates position, ensuring that when new doors open, you will enter with discernment rather than impulse. You may also feel a growing desire to simplify your surroundings, not out of frustration, but out of instinct. Your spirit is craving clarity. Your environment is reflecting that craving. You might find yourself rearranging spaces, discarding old items, or shifting the energy of the places where you spend the most time. These small changes may seem insignificant, but they are reflections of a deeper transformation. When heaven prepares to speak, the soul begins to create room before it even understands why. Beloved, there is a new steadiness developing in your inner posture, a steadiness that does not rely on external stability. You feel it when challenges arise. You feel it when old triggers attempt to resurface. You feel it when doubts try to revisit familiar places in your mind. This steadiness is not denial. It is spiritual maturity taking form. It is the anchoring that comes when the Spirit strengthens you quietly, preparing you to carry clarity that requires a grounded heart. As you continue walking this internal shift, you may notice brief moments where time seems to slow, not physically, but spiritually. These moments come without warning when you pause in a doorway, when you contemplate a small decision, when you inhale before speaking. In these pauses, heaven is aligning you. These pauses are moments where your spirit listens before you realize it is listening. Heaven often speaks in intervals, and your soul is learning how to catch the intervals. There will also be subtle reminders rising within you, urging you to protect your peace with more intention. Not every conversation will feel necessary. Not every invitation will feel aligned. Not every emotion will require response. This selective engagement is not detachment, it is refinement. You are being shaped into someone who can hold revelation without allowing external noise to dilute it. And this refinement is essential for the sacred day that approaches. Beloved soul, if your heart feels the truth of this unfolding, let your agreement rise with purpose. Declare your alignment with a voice that carries conviction. Write ****, I choose destiny, **** in the comments, and let your spirit be marked by the readiness heaven has already recognized. Beloved soul, there is a quiet convergence happening in the deeper chambers of your being, a gathering of impressions, instincts, and subtle inner nudges that seem to rise from a place untouched by your past limitations. It moves through you like an unseen current, shifting your awareness toward territories of understanding you never knew were waiting for you. This movement does not rush, it does not force. It settles, expands, and rearranges the inner architecture of your spirit with a patience that feels almost ancient. And as it does, you begin to sense new layers of yourself emerging, layers that carry strength, insight, and a calm authority that was not present in you before. You may have felt recently as though your inner dialogue has changed texture. Thoughts arrive not as scattered fragments, but as measured impressions. Questions that once spiraled now feel contained, softened, guided. Even your uncertainties feel different. They no longer destabilize you. Instead, they draw you deeper into reflection. This is the evidence that heaven is polishing your inner sight, shaping it to perceive nuance and truth with the clarity required for what is approaching. The Spirit is not only preparing you to receive, it is preparing you to interpret. There is also a new kind of hunger rising in you, a hunger not for validation or recognition, but for alignment. You find yourself yearning for spaces where your spirit feels understood, conversations that nourish you, environments that allow your inner light to breathe. This hunger is not dissatisfaction. It is discernment awakening. It is the realization that your soul can no longer thrive where its growth is not honored. And this realization is quietly steering you toward paths that mirror the evolution happening within you. As this evolution deepens, you might notice that your intuition has gained a sharper edge, a new precision that helps you sense the intentions behind words, the truth beneath gestures, the energy beneath atmospheres. You may walk into a room and immediately know whether it aligns with your spirit. You may speak with someone and feel instantly whether their presence supports your growth or drains it. You may pick up on tensions others do not perceive. This heightened awareness is not sensitivity, it is calibration. Heaven is tuning your discernment to a frequency that will guide your next steps with accuracy. Beloved, there will be moments where your heart feels as though it is absorbing more than your mind can process. Moments where you are struck by sudden clarity without knowing where it came from. Moments where you feel as though you are remembering something you never learned. These moments are not flashes of imagination. They are spiritual impressions, signposts of a destiny unfolding in silence. Heaven often whispers truth into the heart before unveiling it to the mind, and your heart has been receiving those whispers more frequently. You may also find yourself drawn toward choices that emphasize authenticity over convenience. You no longer feel the need to shrink your voice to maintain peace. You no longer tolerate environments that force you to dim your intuition. You no longer settle for connections that mistake your depth for complication. This shift is not defiance. It is truth expressing itself through you. When heaven begins preparing your spirit for a higher assignment, it removes the parts of you that once survived on compromise. There is a new form of inner courage emerging as well, quiet, steady, rooted, the kind of courage that doesn't require speeches or declarations. It shows itself in the way you set boundaries without guilt, in the way you walk away from misalignment without hesitation, in the way you honor your emotional well-being with a tenderness you once denied yourself. This courage is not taught, it is awakened. It rises from the part of your spirit that recognizes the magnitude of the season you are stepping into. And as this awakening intensifies, the unseen realm begins to respond. You may notice unexpected moments of clarity appearing in the middle of ordinary tasks. You may feel a sudden warmth in your chest during prayer or reflection. You may sense moments of profound stillness that wash over you, as if the world has paused for your spirit to breathe. These are not coincidences. They are divine interruptions, brief openings where heaven touches your atmosphere to remind you that you are being guided with intention. Beloved soul, if these movements echo the shifts stirring inside you, let your spirit answer with strength. Declare your alignment with what heaven is building within you. Write **** 777 *** in the comments, not as a number, but as a seal of agreement rising from the depths of your being. Beloved soul, there is a new quietness forming inside you, not the quietness of emptiness, but the quietness of recognition. It feels as though your inner world has started listening with a depth it did not possess before, as if a hidden chamber of awareness has opened within you. In this chamber, every subtle impression finds room to expand, every gentle nudge finds space to speak, and every whisper of intuition is finally heard without interruption. This inner quiet is not accidental. It is the atmosphere heaven creates when a chosen one is being prepared for revelation. You may have begun noticing that your mind no longer clings to thoughts that once trapped you in repetition. Instead, it releases them with unexpected ease, as though something within you has learned to distinguish what deserves your attention and what merely drains your energy. Even your worries feel different. They no longer grip you with the same intensity. They pass through you like shadows, unable to anchor themselves where light has begun to take root. This shift in your mental landscape is not the result of avoidance, it is the result of growth. You are evolving into someone who can perceive truth without being overwhelmed by it. There is also a gentler relationship forming between you and your emotions. Feelings that once flooded you now move through channels your spirit has quietly strengthened. Instead of collapsing under their weight, you observe them with clarity. Instead of suppressing them, you allow them to teach you. Instead of fearing them, you recognize them as guides, revealing the parts of your soul that are ready for restoration. This emotional refinement is a sign that your spirit is being prepared to carry instruction without interference from unhealed places. As this refinement continues, a new awareness begins to rise, a sense that something beyond your current understanding is aligning with your path. You may feel moments where your attention sharpens abruptly, as if your spirit is scanning the atmosphere for signals you have not yet learned to interpret. You may feel drawn to pause before making decisions, not out of hesitation, but out of a quiet knowing that timing is sacred. You may feel the urge to step away from familiar routines because your inner rhythm no longer matches the pace of your old patterns. These inclinations are not random. They are markers of a soul being synchronized with divine timing. Beloved, there will be times when you sense a presence of clarity standing just beyond your comprehension, urging you to trust the unfolding even when the steps ahead are still hidden. This sensation is not confusion. It is anticipation. It is the awareness that your spirit is nearing a threshold where understanding will merge with revelation. Heaven often sends awareness before instruction, so that the heart learns to recognize the shape of truth before it receives the fullness of it. You may also find that certain memories have resurfaced, not to burden you, but to show you how far you've come. Memories that once brought pain now arrive with gentleness. Situations that once caused fear now appear smaller, diminished by the growth inside you. The Spirit is using these reflections to reveal your evolution, reminding you that you are no longer defined by the experiences that once limited you. Each memory that returns is a sign that healing has taken root deeper than you realized. And as you walk through these inner transformations, you may feel moments of unusual clarity, brief flashes where a single thought illuminates the path ahead with unexpected precision. These flashes are hints, fragments of the revelation that is approaching you. Heaven often sends glimpses before sending fullness, preparing your spirit to hold what your mind will soon understand. These glimpses are signs that November 25 is not simply a date, but a moment where what has been gestating in silence will begin to unfold. There is a subtle strengthening happening in your sense of identity as well. You no longer feel compelled to shrink in spaces that cannot hold your depth. You no longer question your worth when someone fails to see it. You no longer measure your value by external acceptance. This shift is not pride, it is awakening. It is the realization that your spirit has outgrown the need to be validated by what was never meant to shape you. Heaven is anchoring you in who you are becoming, not who you once were. And as these layers continue to emerge, the unseen realm responds. You may feel gentle waves of warmth across your shoulders during prayer or reflection. You may sense a slight elevation in your chest when you speak truth aloud. You may even feel moments where your breath deepens without reason, as if your spirit is expanding to receive more than you can yet articulate. These sensations are not physical coincidences. They are spiritual signatures, subtle confirmations that the atmosphere around you is shifting. Beloved soul, if your spirit recognizes the movement in these words, let your affirmation rise with intention. Leave your mark in the comments with a declaration that carries the certainty of your becoming. Write ***, I'm ready, ***, and let the unseen witness your alignment with the unfolding written for you. Beloved soul, there is a subtle awakening unfolding within you, one that feels less like a sudden revelation and more like a steady rising of inner light, as if parts of your spirit that once slept have begun stretching toward a horizon only heaven can see. It is gentle, yet unmistakable, quiet, yet powerful. It slips into your awareness in moments when you are not trying to understand anything, when your guard is lowered and your heart is open enough to feel what the mind cannot interpret. This awakening is not an event, it is a becoming. And it is preparing you for what your spirit has already sensed moving toward you. You may have noticed recently that your breathing has become deeper in moments when you least expect it, as though something within you is teaching your body how to receive more peace than it has ever held before. That breath is not random. It is alignment. It is the Spirit drawing your inner rhythm into harmony with a frequency that carries revelation. And as this rhythm settles into you, your thoughts begin to quiet naturally, allowing a spaciousness to form inside your awareness, where guidance can take shape without resistance. There is a new clarity dawning in the way you perceive your own resilience. You have begun to look at challenges not as threats but as thresholds, recognizing that the discomforts you once feared now serve as indicators of growth. Even the moments that catch you off guard seem to carry a subtle instruction, a hidden invitation to rise into a wiser version of yourself. This shift is not the product of effort. It is the emergence of strength that was planted inside you long before you knew how to recognize it. And as this strength rises, you may find yourself confronting old narratives that once shaped the way you saw your worth. These narratives now feel foreign, distant, almost as if you are listening to a story that no longer belongs to you. The parts of yourself that once clung to fear have begun loosening their grip. The parts that once fed on doubt have grown quiet. It is not that the past has vanished. It is that you are no longer living from the wounds that once defined you. Heaven has been rewriting your inner script, line by line, until your spirit can breathe in its own truth. Beloved, there is a deepening happening in the way you interpret silence. Silence once felt like emptiness, but now it feels like a presence, a fullness, a soft canopy of understanding unfolding in the background of your awareness. You begin to sense that silence is not a void, it is a vessel. It carries impressions, insights, answers delivered in a language beyond words. And the more you sit with this silence, the more you realize it is preparing you to receive what cannot be spoken through noise. You may also find that your dreams have taken on a different tone. They feel richer, more layered, as though you are walking through symbolic terrain designed to place messages in your spirit rather than your mind. Colors feel brighter, spaces feel larger, movements feel slower, almost weightless. These dreams are not echoes of your subconscious, they are rehearsals. They are previews of an unfolding that will soon enter your waking life, shaping the instructions that will arrive with the significance of November 25. As this inner world evolves, your interactions with others begin to reveal more than their words. You notice shifts in energy, in the cadence of conversations, in the emotional weight behind small gestures. You begin to sense when someone speaks from truth and when they speak from fear. You begin to pick up the discord between what someone says and what their spirit carries. This heightened perception is not meant to judge, it is meant to guide you toward connections that match the frequency of your becoming. And you may feel moments where your heart releases heaviness in ways that surprise you. Tears may come, not from sadness, but from recognition. A warmth may rise in your chest when you least expect it, reminding you that healing is not always loud. Sometimes it arrives like a soft unraveling, loosening knots you forgot existed. These emotional releases are signs that heaven is clearing the interior, space where revelation will soon take root. Beloved soul, if your spirit recognizes itself in these unfolding movements, let that recognition rise without hesitation. Mark your readiness with a declaration that carries the fire of your awakening. Write ****, I claim my breakthrough season, **** in the comments, and let the atmosphere around you bear witness to the truth rising in your spirit. Beloved soul, there is a deep movement rising beneath the surface of your awareness, a movement so subtle that it brushes against your spirit like a shift in the air before a new season begins. It comes to you in quiet waves, in moments when your